Hello and welcome to Assignment 8. This is where all of your hard work so far, understanding the mind, the principles of the mind, what hypnotherapy does, the difference between hypnotherapy and hypnosis, what trance is, whereabouts in the frequency of the mind trance is. You've learned so much information. It's all been leading you up to this point, where you start to understand how to induce somebody into that trance state. And that's specifically what Assignment 8 is all about. The induction process. Now, the sole objective of the induction is to create the trance state. However, there's different ways to induce somebody to the point of trance. And at that point, when you've successfully created the trance, you can use your suggestions to create the outcome your client is looking for. Let's commence with Assignment 8. Assignment 8 is specifically looking at step number 4, which is the induction. And now let's cover the induction definition. An induction is the beginning stage of the hypnotic process, preparing an individual for the deepener and suggestions. It's the client's responsibility to accept the induction. What does that mean? Well, a client can fight the beginning stages of induction if they want to. They can feel irritated. They can choose to be distracted by different sounds in the room or the way they feel. And this can be shown physically by your client. Now, if they are fully committed to hypnotherapy and making the change, then they will follow your instruction. If your client isn't following your instruction, then they could be sabotaging for their own reasons. The majority of your clients that sit in front of you will be following your instruction because they are committed to the outcome they're looking for. So it is their responsibility to listen. Different types of induction. There are direct, indirect, progressive relaxation, and guided imagery. And we are going to be covering progressive relaxation and guided imagery next, so you understand the difference of the two, the different personality types that you will present these different types of inductions for. Why are inductions vital? To establish the state or conditions required for hypnosis to occur, which is an artificial state of trance. To induce your client into a state of trance, to create a state of increased suggestibility. That's why it's vital. If you skip the induction and just ask them to close their eyes and you gave the suggestions, they won't be at the level required for them to accept the suggestions because the critical faculty barrier is still probably in place. And also they won't be relaxed enough. So if we are to discuss this from a scientific perspective, they're in beta frequency. When they close their eyes, they go automatically down into the lower frequency, but we need to go a bit lower. And we know when they go lower into the theta frequency because their body is communicating with us. So we see by the rapid eye movement, absence of the swallow reflex, protruding lower lip, or postural slump. All of those are signs that they're going lower down into the right frequency. And if they go too far, what would happen? They'd fall asleep. So we need to make sure that they're at that level. So if you start to see that someone is falling asleep or has fallen asleep, the solution to that is to raise your voice and bring it out of the hypnotic tone into a more assertive tone that will allow someone to know that they are falling asleep, and you'll start to bring their awareness back and further up into the theta frequency that is there, perfect for suggestion. One of the old-fashioned ways of taking somebody into trance is by getting them to lie down. I don't suggest that, because lying down is synonymous with sleeping. And if you physically do something, or you change your physiology in a way that reminds you of something else, you're going to feel that. For example, if you walk with your shoulders back and your head held high, you feel automatically more positive. It's scientifically proven that if a gentleman is to put his feet up on a desk, put his hands behind his back and relax in that position, it actually increases testosterone levels. So your body responds to your physiology. And if you lie down, the chances of your client falling asleep are quite high. And that's why I always suggest, and I always use an upright chair with my clients. Now, do you need special equipment to induce somebody into trance? Do you need headphones that's going to be speaking so many words into the right hemisphere of their brain and so many words into the left hemisphere of their brain? And you can probably work out that I'm trying not to laugh at this point, because there are so many gimmicks on the market and it's a total waste of time. They're useless. You don't need to have a special chaise longue or special headphones. You don't need any of that. I tell you what you do need: a really strong intent from your client. Visually see that they're committed to make change. And if you have those and you create the right induction, you do a deepener where is necessary, you have suggestions that are created, which I'm going to show you how to create them very specifically. If you do all of that, I promise you'll get great outcomes, as I have. I've done sessions in broom cupboards. I've done sessions in so many different places, on an aeroplane, in an airport. It's endless. I carry the skill of hypnotherapy around with me all the time, and I don't have to find a very specific, I'm not in an I've not walked into an airport thinking I'm going to do a session with a gentleman. It didn't happen. It just so happened the opportunity arose, and I didn't think to myself, oh, he's not lying down, or I've not got my special headphones so that the sounds are going into the left and right hemisphere of his brain. No, that is gimmicks, total gimmicks, and you don't need any of them. In fact, when I was in the airport, sat opposite the gentleman, I saw the stress on his face, and I was sat there on my computer, and he was sat opposite me, and everybody was starting to queue to get onto the plane. And it was my curiosity of wanting to know why he was waiting, and I could see that he wasn't in a place of comfort or relaxation, and all I did was ask him. I put my laptop to one side and I started a conversation, and actually the aisle of where I was sat and the aisle where he was sat was the greatest distance, because that's where everybody came into the airport and went. And all I did was say to the gentleman, "Hi, how are you doing? Do you mind me asking why you're not getting into the line? Why you're not queuing up to get on the plane?" And he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the flight." Okay. Now, at that point, I thought to myself, he's already started the consultation with me. All I need to do is find out how committed he is to wanting to let go. And I need to find out that very quickly, because I'm in an airport. And what did I ask the gentleman? I said to him, "How important is it for you to let go of this? How long have you lived with this for? And he said, it started 30 years ago and I'm in my 60s. So for 30 years of flying, he was not happy about getting on the plane. So there's a lot of data there. And he was already at the point where there was conflict because he's speaking to me in an airport about it, a stranger. Now at that point in the airport, I asked him these questions. When did it start? What would your life be like if you didn't have this challenge? And he said to me, I'd be able to get onto aeroplanes very easily. I wouldn't be panicked getting onto an aeroplane. This was my third question. Number 3, do you want to let go of that? Now, I haven't told him I am an international coach and hypnotherapist. I haven't told him all the stories of my elite clients and how I've been doing this for 14 years and helping people with extreme addictions and trauma. No, not mentioned any of that. All I said to him was, if you want to let go of that, you can close your eyes. That was it. And guess what? He closed his eyes. What has he just done? And if you listen to the sentence, we're in an airport. We're communicating with each other. I've asked him very specific questions about his past, when it started, and now, and how it's stopping him in his everyday life. My third question was, if you were ready to let go of that, whatever that is. And I don't know what that is, because he could have had an argument with his wife and taken that argument onto an aeroplane and experienced turbulence, which he's connected to an argument. And every time he thinks about his wife in an airport, it reminds him of the turbulence. I don't know. Do I need to know? No, absolutely not. What I do need is his level of intent, his commitment to want to change. And by me asking him, when you're ready to let go of that, you can close your eyes. Now he's committed to the induction now. He is showing me all the way through with each question that he's committed to wanting to change. And I started the induction. I actually walked across the aisle and sat next to him to be able to carry on the process. Now, I'm going to carry this story on later in the next assignment, because I'm only telling you what's relevant now. And what is relevant to this part of your assignment is that the induction process can be started very simply. And it doesn't need to be someone lying down. You don't need all the gadgets and all the bells and whistles. You don't need all of that. What you do need is somebody that wants to change, that has the intent, and that wants to close their eyes and begin the process without any interruption. Did he open his eyes during the process? No, because I'd already identified what he has and what he wants to let go of. Is he using the sounds around him to sabotage his progress? No. He's allowing the process to take place. Interesting that the risk versus reward. The reward is that he can let go. And all I asked him was, do you want to let go? That was it. And that reward was greater than many other risks that could have been in his head. He doesn't know me. I'm sat in an airport. Interesting, isn't it? Why are inductions vital? Establishing the state or conditions required for hypnosis to occur. To induce the client into a state of trance. To create a state of increased suggestibility. if we focus on inductions A and B, I'd like to just help you understand how different they are and how they're applicable to different clients. Okay, so we have the left hemisphere of the brain, which is analytical thinking, is used for our vocabulary and mathematics and logical aspects of our life. And then we have our right hemisphere of our brain, which is more creative and intuitive and present. So if we are looking at our clients, we need to identify which side they are, and everybody falls into one of these two categories. Let's look at some jobs that can help you identify which side somebody might be on. So if we describe a gentleman that turns up at your practice in a grey suit, and has no emotion that he is displaying physically or verbally, and he pulled up in a grey car, and in the consultation he tells you that he's a solicitor or an accountant or an engineer, which side do you think he would fall into, analytically thinking or creative thinking? That's right, he would be analytical thinking. So if a gentleman turns up in a pink Ferrari and he's wearing a very colourful suit, and as he sits in front of you, he says, "Oh, I really need to let go of this emotion." And he's using very creative words. And in the consultation, he tells you he is an accountant or a judge or an engineer. Which one is he? Is he creative? Is he creative or analytical? That's right, he's creative because he's expressing himself through his colours and through his mannerisms, what type of person he is. However, he may be in an industry that doesn't reflect his true personality and his true character. So we use a creative induction for creative people, and we use a more of an analytical induction for more analytical people. And that gives them the opportunity to relax in their way. So what would happen if you gave a creative induction to an analytical person? Well, analytical people struggle more with visualizing. So if you gave them the creative induction first, they may struggle seeing what it is that you're describing to them. And that would slow the process down of them going to the trance state. Now, if you give a progressive relaxation to someone that's creative, that won't make any difference. They will just feel and their body starting to relax, and you might miss the opportunity to go deeper into a state of trance with something that's creative, because their brain, their mind is geared up to accept a visual type of induction. And what you can do, if you're really not sure, you could do a progressive relaxation and then a creative. However, if it's someone that's super analytical, they would have to go further down into their trance state before they can visualize. And I would say that 98% of people that go into trance can visualize. I must say, I think I've hypnotized between 3,000 and 5,000 people in my 14-year career. And I can only remember two people that I had to stop the session and only do analytical suggestions and an analytical induction with. Two. When you're reading a script to your clients, there's a very specific way that's going to help them go into that trance state even faster. And when you're reading a induction, there is what's called a hypnotic voice. And when you talk with your hypnotic voice, this will help them go into that trance state with ease. So talk with a hypnotic voice, deep voice, be gentle and like reading to a child. Allow words to flow and exaggerate the words at the end of the sentences. Speak in a soft, caring, compassionate way. So you could read a script like this. And as you see yourself on a beach, you can feel the sand between your toes. And as you look out towards the ocean's very calm, very relaxing. And the colour of the blue is sending sensations of relaxation and calmness through your mind and through your body. Yeah? Okay. And I know some of you will read like that, and that's okay. However, that's not going to help your client go into a state of trance. So here's the same script in a hypnotic way. And as you see yourself standing on the beach, feeling the sand between your toes, it's almost as if every grain of sand is there to support you on your journey. A journey of inner discovery and relaxation. And as you cast your eyes out over the surface of the ocean, it's almost as if you can feel the vibrancy of the colours sending waves of relaxation and calmness through your mind and through your body. And as you feel the sun against your face, helps you feel a sensation of being comforted, feeling in a place of safety and security to make the changes that you need to make today. When somebody is in a trance state, time is distorted and everything feels completely different. If you were to speak in a hypnotic way all the time, leaving long silences between each word, and exaggerating the end of every word, or just the words that you need to, people would probably fall asleep as you're talking to them. Or they would certainly go into a trance. You wouldn't talk to somebody on a regular basis like that, would you? No. You talk in a clear, concise manner, and generally it's a little bit more monotone than if you were to talk in a hypnotic way. Practice. Initially, it will feel strange and weird to talk in a hypnotic way because it's not normal. And it's not normal because you don't normally speak to people in trance. But the hypnotic tone sounds calming and caring and relaxating in a trance state. So although it will feel strange to you, it will be perfectly normal to the individual that you're speaking to at the time. Why write your own inductions? Well, number one, it ignites your imagination. And if you want to be a good hypnotherapist, you need to move away from the scripts. And yes, you can have an induction script, you can have a deepness script, you can have all your suggestions written out, and then you can have a post-hypnotic written out, and then your future pace and your emerge from trance. You can write all those out. You can do that. However, it's going to sound staged to the individual that you're doing it to. And in the beginning, when you're learning, it's fine. It's okay. Everybody starts. I started off like that. However, I would like to supercharge your progress in a way that's going to be comfortable and feel safe at the same time. And the way to do that is to start writing your own inductions and practicing. And you can do that just by looking out in nature. And predominantly an induction will be a scene from nature, or it will be a description of a progressive relaxation, depending on who you're communicating to, what type of person you're communicating to. So what kind of inductions can you write? You can be on a beach, you could be on a mountain, next to a lake, next to a river. It's endless. It really is. You could be in a rice field in Bali, or you could be in a pineapple field in Thailand, or you could be walking through pine trees in a forest. It really, really is up to your client. And what I will stress is that if you use an induction that triggers your client in some way, so if they nearly drowned at the beach when they were 10, and you don't give your client the choice of an induction next to a lake or one next to a beach, and you prefer the beach, and you take your client to the beach and you trigger them, that's not going to take your client to a place of trance. They're going to be feelings of anxiety and stress, and that's not conducive to letting go in any way. So number one, ignite your imagination. And you can do that every time you're in nature, and go to nature more. If you can find a lake that you can go to, drive to it and sit next to the lake and look at how you can describe the water rippling on the surface, how you describe different colours of the lake. Maybe there is a sanded area with pebbles that you could describe. And look at the sky. You don't even have to go anywhere to step out. I can guarantee that everybody watching this video can leave, open the door at the front of their building, whether it's a house or an apartment, and look up at the sky. And you could do a whole induction just from looking up at the sky. In fact, let's do one. Looking up at the sky. Now, before I start explaining this induction, if you're driving a car and operating heavy machinery, or doing anything where you might feel that you're going into a trance state and that may be dangerous, please stop before I start this induction describing the sky. That's my disclaimer for your safety. And as you stand with your feet against the ground, knowing that it's okay for a few moments to feel secure and safe, and just look up. And just look up into the sky. And look at how different every single cloud is. Some clouds are just floating along aimlessly, changing their shape ever so slowly. It's almost as if you are a cloud floating through the sky, feeling light and calm and relaxed, knowing that you can be whatever you want to be, and just allowing that to happen, going with the flow as the wind takes you in different directions, allowing yourself to experience what it's like to be at the mercy of everything around you, and just being in that moment to see where it will take you, and feeling the sun caressing, noticing that sense of being nurtured and protected, and allowing that to happen. And that can happen, can it not? And as that continues, now bringing your awareness back down into your physical self, standing on the floor. That's an induction. And if you do and continued and embellish that induction for long enough, your client will go into trance. Why write your own inductions? Ignite your own imagination. Preparing to move away from scripts to techniques. Enabling you to step into another person's imagination with ease. So why is that important? Well, if somebody comes to see you and you have scripts for inductions, mountain, lake, beach, all these, and you say to your client, describe to me a really relaxating place, a place that you feel safe, that we could use as an induction. That's a brilliant question. Why? Because it's unique to your client. And they say to you, sat on a step outside my grandma's house in India. Have you got a script for that? No? What do? Well, if you haven't practiced describing things and watching and observing, that will be a struggle for you. However, if you start now, igniting your imagination to be able to step into different realities with different people, it will happen with ease. Your inductions can be shorter. Now, why can they be shorter? Because your client is going into a memory that's very vivid. It's not guided imagery anymore. It is a memory, and you know that it's going to trigger feelings of calmness and relaxation and safety because you ask them that. So let's do an induction sitting on a step in India. What does a step have? Well, it's firm, and you can sit down on a step. You can see a step. And if you're in India, it's going to be warm. And if they say a step next to their grandma's house, then we know it's a house. And again, we can see it and we can feel it. So let's start an induction for somebody that is outside their grandma's house. We always indirectly ask our clients to close their eyes, because if we directly ask them to close their eyes, we cannot associate an action. And what's the action we want to associate when someone closes their eyes? We want them to take responsibility for letting go. So my go-to favorite is when you're ready to start the process, or when you're ready to let go of that, whatever that is for them, because ambiguity is one of the primal aspects to hypnotherapy. Whenever you're ready to let go of that, you can close your eyes. As you close your eyes and you see yourself stood outside your grandma's house in India, feeling all those positive feelings that you had, feeling the sun against your face, and noticing that sense of warmth that reminds you of all the great times when you were in this house, and noticing the step. And I wonder if it's 1 step, 2 steps, or 3 steps that you notice, or maybe even more. And we don't know, so we're going to cover all of them. And if it is 3 steps or 4 steps, we've covered them. And as you see the distance between you and the step that you decide is going to help you feel most relaxed today, what have we done? We've identified that there's 1 step that's going to help them feel more relaxed than the rest, and they've already identified it. Now, if we said step on the first step that's going to help you feel more relaxed, and they always sat on the second step, we've been too specific, and then they will be questioning, well, actually the second step is more comfortable, and that's the step I'd normally sit on. And we don't want that. We don't want the questioning. So we leave it for them. And as you notice the step that feels most comfortable to you, and every step that you take, and now that's interesting, isn't it? Because step and step, same word. So we need to find an alternate word, because we're going to get confused from the place and the action. So as you move towards that step, knowing what it's going to feel like, and just imagine some of that right now, that feeling of calmness and relaxation. And knowing that can continue as you move closer and closer to that step. And as you sit down, allowing that emotion and all the positivity that comes from being there to happen right now. Here we go. We've just done an induction for somebody that gave us some information, and we have expanded it out and made it more than. Why learn to embellish? The definition of embellishment: to make something more attractive by adding decorative details or features, words. And we can use that when your client is taking longer to go into trance. So when your client sits down and they close their eyes of their own free will, because they decide that closing their eyes is going to start the process of letting go. When they close their eyes, you'll be able to see there'll be tension in the face, there'll be a swallow reflex, there'll be a full conscious awareness of the body, upright. Everything will be signaling that they are in a conscious state. And as you start your induction, you'll start to slowly see the body start to change as it goes into trance. Now, if you don't see a minimum of 5 and you think they're still consciously aware, then if you embellish your script and you know how to do that, then you can make it longer or shorter, depending on what you need. However, if you're reading from a script and all you've ever done is read from a script, your capacity, your skills are always going to be capped. Always. Then you'll fall into the category of the majority of hypnotherapists out there, which is unfortunate. When you learn how to construct powerful inductions in your mind, because you use your whole of your reality to engage your imagination. Constantly look around you and just describe things. Describe trees that you see, the grass, the ground. We have to be flexible in our inductions, because if we're not, the only person that suffers is our clients. If the script is too short, we can expand it out. And you practice using your imagination. So embellishment is a critical part of an induction. So initially, if you really want to use a script, you can transition to not using one by making some of it up. So if you want to read some of it, if you have several scripts and a client comes to see you, or happen to like the induction of the lake and the river, or standing in the sand at the beach, then you're very lucky and you can pull that script out and you can read it to them. Now, how you can transition from that is halfway down, just make some of it up. And if it feels uncomfortable, then maybe you sit down and start to write an induction. But hopefully you'll be writing all of your own inductions, and the more you write them, the more your subconscious mind is watching you with your intent to be a fabulous and a highly effective hypnotherapist, and it'll start to become second nature for you, I promise you. How do I know that? Because I've taught hundreds of people this process and I've mastered it myself. Step 5, deepening techniques definition, is the process of inducing a client into a deeper and deeper trance. Why is deepening tech necessary? To move away from the critical faculty barrier. The deeper the client is, the deeper the relationship is with the subconscious mind and connection to the resource state. Now, the resource state is the part of their subconscious mind that has all the answers. And this might seem a bit strange for you to understand, so I'm going to give you some examples. Every one of your clients knows what they need to do. Guaranteed. when your client comes to see you, they are just unsure of what they need to do. But the resources are within them to let go or to find a new empowering conclusion to their experiences. Here's an example. Have you ever had a challenge for a day, gone to sleep, and then woke up in the morning and you've been very assertive as to what action you need to take? Well, that's because as you were sleeping and you were in your REM state, your subconscious was actually finding out and creating the conclusion that you needed. And we can utilize that in the hypnotic process. And that's what's called the resource state. And when we calm the mind down and we go from the beta, alpha, and theta, we're moving towards the resources that our clients have. The deeper you go, the faster you heal the body. So if you have somebody that wants to increase healing of the body in some way, you can actually access that state of the body while somebody is in a hypnotic state also, and speed up physical repair and allow them to take that session away with them and repeat it in their own time. An example of a deepener. In the distance, you can see steps leading you to that place, wherever that is. The place you know is going to help you achieve X, Y, Z. As you get closer, feel that change is possible. And as you take the first step, going deeper and deeper. And second step, going so deep, feeling waves of relaxation. And 3, going deeper and deeper. And you can say that until 10, leading into the suggestions. So very specifically, a deepener is to take what you've already created, the trance state, and to go deeper down into trance. That's what the deepener's for. Why write your own deepeners? Well, if you're writing your own inductions, then you need to know how to remember your own deepeners. And they're very simple. So if we use, let's say that your client has told you that sitting on their grandfather's porch in Texas, in America, is the most relaxing place that they've ever been to. And you can ask some quick questions about that induction. Was there a rocking chair on the porch? Was there any wind chimes on the porch? How did you feel about those wind chimes? Was your favorite day sat on the porch a sunny day or a rainy day? A lot of people like to listen to the sound of the rain and like the change in the atmosphere, the ions in the air. Once you've asked those questions, I wonder, if it was a rainy day, would we use the steps of the porch to go down into the garden or not? No, absolutely not. Because they're going to get wet and maybe they don't want to get wet. However, if you're on the porch and they're sat in a rocking chair and you've embellished the whole of it and they're feeling very relaxed, you could use the steps leading down. Now, if there's only 3 steps, then you can only go deeper and deeper 3 times. And this is something you have to pay attention to. It has to be logical. So if you're on a beach and you use a deepener, then where do you go? If a beach and then there's the ocean, there has to be a deepener that is logical. And if there's no steps on a beach, then you wouldn't be able to use a deepener. However, you can use the clouds. And as they're on the beach and they're having shade under a palm tree, it's almost as if you can see the clouds taking the form of numbers. And as you notice the number 10, you're feeling ever so deeply relaxed and calm. And it's almost as if that 10 is shifting into the shape of 9. And with that change within the cloud, you're feeling yourself going deeper and deeper. And as it changes to an 8, deeper and deeper. And you're going down into trance with the numbers. And at the end of the session, you can go back up out of trance and count from 1 to 10. So we always go down with a deepener, and when we emerge out of trance, we go up the numbers. So to go down, we use numbers 10, 9, 8, 7, putting relaxating words between the numbers and associating the steps with positive feelings of relaxation.